Hi and welcome. How's it going, friends around the world? If you're new here, we'd be honored to have you with us. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. What if some of the world's most mysterious discoveries weren't meant to be explained at all? From ancient stones that act like topographic computers, to nuclear reactors that formed naturally without human help, these artifacts defy logic. Scientists came to observe and left speechless. In this video, we're uncovering discoveries so strange they'll make you question everything you thought you knew. Let's start with the Sayhuite stone in Peru. It's hard to believe anyone could have made this without using a computer. There are over 200 separate designs carved into its surface, and most archaeologists and historians can't figure out what they mean. Many experts have visited the site hoping to understand it, but they all went home just as confused. They can't even date the stone precisely, though they think it was carved sometime between the 15th and 16th centuries, which would make it a relic from the Inca Empire. But why did the Incas make it? It's covered with animal shapes, lines, and curves. Some believe they represent canals or roads. Parts of it look like houses, temples, or even entire cities. Some fringe historians think the Sayhuite stone is actually a three-dimensional model of the surrounding landscape that the Incas used to test artificial water channels. They would pour water on the stone to see how it flowed, then recreate the system in real life. If that's true, it could be a 15th century irrigation plan on a scale we never imagined. Now to something even stranger, a natural nuclear reactor. Sounds crazy, right? But it exists. It's called the Oaklo Reactor, and it's in Gabon, Africa. It's the world's first and only known natural nuclear reactor. About 2 billion years ago, groundwater seeped into uranium-rich mineral deposits and triggered a self-sustaining nuclear chain reaction. This went on for years, heating the area so much that the water would boil away. When things cooled down, the reaction would start all over again. How do we know this really happened? Scientists found xenon gas in the surrounding rocks, a byproduct of uranium fission. When low levels of uranium-238 were detected in the 1970s, people feared someone had stolen the uranium to make a bomb. But turns out, the low levels were the result of this natural phenomenon. And in theory, it could happen again somewhere else in the world. Let's head to India. In March 2022, archaeologists discovered mysterious sandstone jars in Assam. They found 65 complete jars, none of which are identical. Experts noticed that these jars look like the famous ones in Laos and suspect they may have served the same purpose: burial rituals. If they're right, the jars may once have held human remains. Some jars are as tall as 10 feet, and no one knows who made them or when. They don't seem to be linked to any existing culture in India. The local Naga people say they've known about the jars for years, and have even found burnt bones and personal items inside some of them. But they don't think their ancestors made them. The mystery is still unsolved, and might remain that way. In mid-2020, scientists in Antarctica were stunned when they discovered a large potato-shaped fossil on Seymour Island. It turned out to be a 68-million-year-old soft-shelled egg, and they had no idea what laid it. They nicknamed it the Thing, until further research suggested it might be the second largest egg ever found. Experts now believe it could have belonged to a previously unknown species of marine reptile that lived at the same time as the dinosaurs. This discovery challenged everything scientists thought they knew. Before this, it was believed that creatures like mosasaurs and long-necked plesiosaurs gave birth to live young and didn't lay eggs. According to paleontologist Rodrigo Otero from the University of Chile, neither he nor his colleagues had ever seen anything like it. It took them a while to fully process what they had found. There was no embryo inside, so we still don't know exactly what creature laid it. Now imagine stumbling across a mysterious stone structure you can't explain. That's exactly what Mystery Hill in Salem, New Hampshire, USA is like. Also known as America's Stonehenge, this 4,000-year-old site includes underground chambers, some aligned with stars. Most believe it was built by early Native Americans, but some fringe theorists think it might have been constructed by ancient Celts, since the design closely resembles Celtic structures found across Europe. But if that were true, it would mean the Celts reached North America 4,000 years ago, which is a tough pill to swallow for most historians. Back to March 2022 again. This time in China, where archaeologists found stone tools in the Chemu site in the Bay of Qiyama. At first, that might not sound impressive. Early humans all used stone tools, but these ones are different. They're about 40,000 years old, and unlike anything researchers have seen, most are tiny blades, some still attached to fragments of bone handles. They may have been used for carving wood, scraping hides, or cutting plants. Around 400 tools have been recovered so far. The people who made them might have been a completely unknown human culture, not Neanderthals or Denisovans. The site also showed signs of red ochre staining the ground, possibly from tanning hides. Now let's go to Nova Scotia, Canada, to the Joggins Fossil Cliffs. This site holds fossils over 300 million years old, including the world's oldest known reptile, Hylonomus lyelli. The cliffs are also full of incredibly well-preserved fossilized trees. Back then, this area was a dense jungle. The fossils here are so important that Charles Darwin even mentioned the site in his famous book, On the Origin of Species. Because of erosion, new fossils constantly surface from the cliffs, but reaching them isn't easy. Scientists have to scale 75-foot cliffs that are regularly battered by 50-foot tides. Let's end in Sakara, Egypt. During an excavation in a forgotten chamber, archaeologists found a stone tablet unlike anything they had ever seen. Among the usual hieroglyphs, there was a disc-shaped figure floating above a group of Egyptian priests. The central figure had an elongated head and large eyes, nothing like any known Egyptian god. It was surrounded by symbols that have never been translated. Some experts suggest it might be an ancient depiction of a non-human being. Carbon dating shows the chamber had been sealed for over 3,500 years. So, was this just symbolic art, or did the Egyptians actually witness something extraterrestrial? Could this discovery rewrite everything we know about history? Let us know your theory in the comments. Finally, here's something a little odd, and a little cheeky if you're British: the Bllock dagger, a nickname for a certain kind of blade. It was found in Belgium near a 13th century cathedral that was heavily damaged in World War II. While the cathedral itself was repaired, much of the surrounding land wasn't, and it's in that damaged land where archaeologists made the discovery. The dagger is one of the most fascinating finds in the area, and it's not the only artifact of its kind found in Belgium. One of the key features of this dagger is that it could be worn around the waist and used as a backup weapon in case the primary one, like a full-size sword, was dropped during battle. There are a few theories about how it got its rather unforgettable nickname. The first is that the two round knobs on the handle look like testicles. The second is that, when worn around the waist, the blade often hung down near that sensitive area. And as any British viewer would know, the common slang for testicles in the UK is bollocks. The third theory? It was named after the body part it was meant to stab, but let's not go too far down that road. Now let's talk about astrolabes. Finding one is always a big deal for archaeologists. These ancient, complex devices were used for navigation and also served as working models of the universe, at least as it was understood by the people who made them. They were used to track the movement of celestial bodies across the sky. In October 2021, one of these incredible instruments was recovered from the mouth of the Va River in northwest Spain. It became the 108th recorded astrolabe ever found. It was made sometime between 1575 and 1622, and experts believe it might have come from the wreck of the San Bartolomé, a sailing ship known to have sunk in that region in 1597. Archaeologists say it's one of the 10 best-preserved maritime astrolabes ever discovered. Sailors used it by aligning a rotating arm on its circular face with the position of the sun, or at night a known star, to calculate their ship's location. Every astrolabe was custom-made for its owner, and represented the pinnacle of navigation technology at the time. Now let's talk about clothing, one of humanity's oldest crafts. It had to start somewhere, and we might have a clue about its origins thanks to a discovery from September 2021 at Çatalhöyük in Turkey. Archaeologists already knew this site was unusual. As many as 10,000 people lived there together 9,000 years ago. Permanent settlement wasn't exactly common during that part of the Stone Age, but these people managed to build the largest known Neolithic city, and they left behind scraps of cloth for us to study. One of the most exciting pieces was actually discovered back in 1962, a tiny bit of textile that experts once thought was made of wool or flax. But as of September 2021, We now know it was woven from bast fibers, fibers stripped from tree bark. That makes it the oldest preserved woven fabric in the world. For a long time we believed early clothing was made from flax once humans moved on from animal skins. But this cloth is at least 8,500 years old, and it suggests the first handmade clothing might have been made from bark instead. Fast forward to the 21st century and we still don't have a completely accurate way to predict earthquakes. It's a problem humanity has wrestled with for thousands of years. In fact, the first known attempt to build an earthquake detector was made in China in the year 132 AD. It was called a seismoscope, invented by Zhang Heng, and for something so ancient, it was surprisingly advanced. Zhang's device sat on the ground and was sensitive enough to detect quakes from far away. Inside, a pendulum would swing when a tremor was detected. If the shaking was strong enough, it would cause a metal ball to drop from the mouth of one of the intricately carved dragons on the side of the device, and into the mouth of a matching frog beneath it. Not only did this indicate that a quake had occurred, but it also gave a rough idea of which direction the quake came from. We still can't decide whether to be amazed that Zhang Heng was so ahead of his time, or embarrassed that we still haven't developed anything much better. Now let's move to one of the weirdest artifacts we've got, the Sabu Disc, also known as the Schist Disc or Sakara Disc, named after the Egyptian site where it was found. Archaeologists estimate it's about 5,000 years old, but nobody really knows what it was used for. The best guess is that it might have been a super fancy candle holder. But if that's true, it's the only one of its kind ever discovered. What makes it even stranger is that it's made of schist, a material that's notoriously difficult to work with. People back then had access to much easier materials, so why bother carving a candle holder out of this stuff? And even the wheel-like shape of the disc is a puzzle because, as far as we know, the Egyptians hadn't even invented the wheel yet 5,000 years ago. So, what was it really? Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss a video. Incredible discoveries await in every episode. Thanks for your support.